Welcome to this week's video. We're going to talk about making silicone molds with caulking and cornstarch. Here I'm showing you the GE all-purpose 100% silicone. You pick it up at your local Walmart for around $4 to $5. It's an inexpensive way to make your own molds. And then I use the Walmart brand cornstarch. It's a white cornstarch. It's great for doing a lot of different things. A little bit of baby oil so that we can keep our molds flexible and easier to use. A bowl to mix things in to start with. A plastic knife works real good. And the caulking gun, of course. And off to the side I have an acrylic roller for rolling things out later. And you just want to use as much of the silicone caulking as you think you're going to need to make sure you mold all your items. Here I think I had a little bit more than what I needed, so later on I will probably find some more items. On the caulking guns there's a hole specifically for cutting off the tips of your guns. There's also a long metal stick part under the front of the gun that if you twist it out you can use it to poke into the seal on the inside of the caulking tube, and that will allow the silicone to come out. I noticed a lot of people, they cut it all the way down. I find that's not necessarily needed. I get plenty of it out through the little tube that cuts off naturally. I don't see any reason. In this way I can also use the tip that you can get with them to keep the silicone from drying out too much. And I'm going to add some cornstarch now. And again, the amount of cornstarch you add is personal preference as to how tacky you want your stuff later. I kind of like mine to be just a little bit tacky towards the end. And careful how much baby oil you add, because if you add too much baby oil, you can get really tacky resin pulls later. And you'll have to wait longer for it to sit and set up and absorb all those oils. So try not to use too much oil in the mixing process. Just a quick little squirt's usually plenty. And then you're seeing here I'm mixing it together. I'm just trying to get it as much incorporated as I can in the bowl, where everything's still kind of sticky because everything sticks to that silicone. And then once I get it to a certain point, I take some cornstarch and spread it out on my workspace and make sure I cornstarch my roller there so that it doesn't stick to it either. And I pull it out of the bowl and just start moving it around in the cornstarch and kneading it, kind of like you would a bread dough or a baking dough of some kind. You just want to knead it together real good. And roll it around and fold it in and knead it some more, fold it in, and just do your best to keep folding the cornstarch into it. Then once you get to a certain point, you can pick it up and get it really blended good and make a little ball out of it. Pick up as much of your stuff as you can so you don't lose any. And put a little more cornstarch down so that it don't stick, because it was starting to stick to this aluminum again. And I'm working it a little bit more. Also, this is really messy, so make sure you are not wearing any good clothes or anything like that. Might want to lay some paper down on the floor around you so that it'd be easier to clean up. I'm not wearing gloves because the silicone and stuff doesn't bother my skin like it does some people, but if you have sensitive skin, I would recommend wearing gloves while you do this. It does stick to your skin a little bit, but if you take a dish scrubber with the blue scrubby side and scrub your hands, it comes right off, so it's not real hard to get off. It's just a little time consuming because you got all those little pieces. Here I picked a butterfly that I wanted to mold, and I pushed it in a little bit with my fingers, and then I got a popsicle stick and pushed it down as far as I wanted it to go, because I wanted a little more edge behind just the plain pattern. So I wanted the pattern to show up, but then I wanted to be able to apply a solid color behind the pattern. Found myself a little owl. I thought he'd be kind of neat to do. So a little flower, a little leaf is in there already. I get them in, and then I push them down where I want them and carefully trim up my edges a little bit so that I can maybe use the empty space and roll them together a little bit to make another mold setup. So, and of course I made sure that the edge of the popsicle stick had some cornstarch on it so that it wouldn't stick too bad to the popsicle stick. So, and, you know, just trimming up the edges a little bit. Kind of, I'm not looking to make these an item I would sell, so I'm just going to trim up the edges the way I would want them to be, just so they're easy for me to use. And get all those edges trimmed up and put out of the way. And set those aside. And roll up some more and find some more items to put in there to make it interesting. Little round beads, a cross, another butterfly pendant I had in there, and I'll eventually reach and grab a little crystal clear bead that I had, and I just push them down into the molds or into the silicone. And again, you're gonna have about 10 to 20 minutes before you can take anything out, so you just get it all set up, set them off to the side somewhere where they won't stick to anything, and you know, clean up your work area so that when you get ready to take all the stuff out later, you have a nice clean work area. And believe me, cornstarch gets everywhere, so be very careful with your cornstarch. It does get everywhere. I've done previous attempts at this and have literally made a huge mess that took me forever to clean up. So I found that this time around, when I put the lovely aluminum down, it did help a lot. So I didn't have as much of a cleanup problem. I just picked up the aluminum off my work area and threw it out. Here I am showing you a mold cleaner slash mold release. It's designed to release things out of the mold as well, so I will use that to clean up my molds, get the rest of the cornstarch off of them, making them nice and pretty and ready for casting. I was going to show you the pour section of this, but I accidentally deleted the file, so I can't show you pouring into them. I did, however, manage to keep the last part of it where I demolded the resin stuff later. And here I am trimming up the inside a little bit where the silicone pushed through the designs on the flower or the butterfly before popping it out, so that it is a little more even, more leveled, keeps the mold more consistent all the way across. Because like I said, I did push these in a little further than I needed to, because I wanted to be able to later maybe paint down in the lines and then put a solid color of a different color behind them. Again, I'm trimming up here a little bit behind the butterfly because I want the entire back area of the mold to be leveled, so I am cleaning up where it pushed through and made high spots in the back. So once I get those all cleaned up and demolded, and you know, it's just nice taking them out. They pop right out of the silicone, no problem. I haven't found anything that doesn't pop right out of it yet. So again, I'm just gonna wipe them up good with the mold cleaner and get all the extra cornstarch off of them. You don't need that extra cornstarch. I don't know what it would do to resin, but definitely you don't want it in there. So just cleaning up a little bit. And I will clean up the actual jewelry pieces at a later date. Again, I'm popping out the rest of those little crosses and gems and beads that I had found. And spray and clean. And then I did have a portion of the video, it is set up showing that where I was picking out the colors and stuff, and that's coming up here. So you kind of see what colors I was picking up. You see the little blue rose sitting down there, and a couple molds that are open. They will be, when I go to demold the resin later, you'll see they'll have stuff in them. Where I was working on them, I decided to take that blue rose and put it in a diamond shaped mold. And the little plastic square down there is going to be an experiment. I am trying to see if something will work that somebody suggested, so we will see how that comes out at a later time. I picked a white, a gold, a blue, a green, and I think I picked a red. Yeah, there's a red. And just kind of put all my colors away and set them aside out of the way. And started to get ready to mix my resin, and there I lost the entire section where I poured. Here I'm demolding, and I did notice in the demold process that the front of these were still a bit tacky. I didn't wait 24 hours after taking the items out for it to finish curing, and the oils were still kind of prominent in the mold, so that kind of made the front of the resin tacky. It still produced really nice pieces, but I would recommend that you wait 24 hours. Even though you can pull the stuff out after 10 to 20 minutes, I would wait 24 hours before actually using the molds after you clean them up, so that maybe you won't get that little bit of a tacky residue on the front of them. But you can leave them sit, and they will cure the rest of the way and look fine and be fine. I also was using what was left up of my colors and stuff. Here I had added my light to my necklace, make my horse necklace light up. I'll add the cord later to that. And these, I was just using up what was left of the colors from making the little pieces, so I poured them into my bookmark molds and a couple jewelry molds that I had. And I was just trying to make sure I didn't waste any resin. So these all have little rainbow colors to them with a black background, and I think they came out pretty kind of neat looking. Some of them, on the bookmarks I did, 2 of them didn't have as much black as the other. The first 2 bookmarks were where I was pouring most of it to start with, so they didn't need as much to finish filling them. But the last 2 and the little jewelry things needed a lot more resin to finish filling them the rest of the way, so they have little spots of colors towards the front, and then they were filled with the black in the back. And next week I will be looking at showing you some of my digital art that I do and create for putting in resin, and I will show you the process of how to set up your pictures to be inserted in resin the way I do it. Some people do sprays or buy special paper. I don't, but I will show you that all next week on how I do that, and that way you can get an idea of another way to protect your pictures in resin. Again, thank you for watching the video, and please like and subscribe and share to all your friends. I am just getting started and would like to get my subscriptions up quite a bit, so if you could help out, that would be much appreciated. Again, it really kind of came out kind of neat, these little rainbow bookmarks. I will also be doing an event here in April 18th, from 10 to 3 at the Princeton High School. We are doing the Onion Festival. It's the Princeton High School on 380 here in Princeton, Texas. Hope you enjoyed the video.